All right, hey, shalom, shalom. Before I get started, as always, I want to give all praise unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations and blessings to the hopeful elect who are scattered throughout the four winds of the earth that believe wholeheartedly in the true doctrine that is being pushed throughout the four winds of the earth, who are in hope of mercy and salvation in Esau Edom's last seconds of his rule on the planet Earth. Okay, um, I'm gonna entitle this video "And the Dragon Fought and His Angels." All right, and that's from right here in Revelation, the 12th chapter, beginning at the 7th verse, and to debunk that doctrine that cunningly divides fable Esau Edom has put out there over, the years, the centuries since he's been in the power seat. The war in heaven, all right? The war in heaven hasn't taken place yet, but it's getting ready to take place when Yahweh Shai returns, all right? And the reason I entitled it "The Dragon Fought and His Angels," because of course we know the dragon goes back to the Roman Empire, which today comes in the form of Esau Edom's power structure by way of NATO and the EU. Okay, now these are different nations coagulated together, all right, which they're gonna fight against the Lord when He returns, all right, and that's gonna be the war in heaven, all right. The angels, all right, with Michael being the general, so to speak, of the armies of the heavens against Esau Edom and the rest of the nations in their fighter jets, all right, in the heavens, the skies. That's going to be the war in heaven. That hasn't taken place yet, all right. And I have a video that I want to show to display the dragons and his angels, all right, because those are the fighter jets that will try and fight against Yahweh Shai, Michael, and the rest of the angels, all right. So I'm gonna read the first verse first, and then we're gonna go to the video, and also we're gonna go to 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, all right, to give a broader depiction of this war in heaven that's gonna take place, all right. It says in Revelation 12:7, it says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon," all right, which the dragon, like I said, the ancient Roman Empire, but revised now in the form of NATO and the EU, with Esau Edom being the chief of that power structure, okay? Because all these, even though you see now in the news the nations going at it with each other, wars and rumors of wars, they all gonna come together when Yahweh Shai returns to this realm, to this atmosphere, and they're gonna try to subdue Yahweh Shai, all right. And we're gonna read that, all right. It says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels." Okay, now let's go to this video that I have. Now these is the Air Force of the nations, all right, and their fighter jets. How many fighter jets, the military aircraft that they possess. And like I said, you see with DJT bombing the Iranian nuclear facilities, all right, that's all, the theater of war right now, which of course they added, but they're all going to put aside their differences, like going back to the Ronald Reagan the era where he said we'd all put aside our differences if there was a foreign enemy outside of Earth, all right, and come together. And they will, all right, and we're going to read that. See, this is why the Lord is gathering all those nations over there in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, all right, because that's where the Lord is going to obliterate all of them. Okay, so let's watch this real quick. Okay, and a lot of these nations on here are a part of NATO. Okay, but it don't matter because they all gonna come together anyway in the end to fight against Yahushua. All right, because that's the true war in heaven that the scriptures is talking about. Okay, these fighter jets, this technology versus the majesty and the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and the angels. All right, the so-called UFOs, the vehicles of the heavens. Okay, so you got Iran, the UAE, Algeria, Israel, the state of Israel, okay, Germany, Brazil, Greece, the UK, Italy, Saudi Arabia, okay, North Korea, and those numbers is the amount of fighter jets that they have. France, Turkey, okay, Egypt, South Korea, Pakistan, Japan, India, China, Russia, okay, and who's the big bad wolf at the top? The US of A, the dragon itself, the tip of the spear of NATO, which is 14,486 fighter jets. All right, those are the dragon and his angels, the fighter jets of the nations that will try to fight against Yahushua and his angels, but they won't prevail, as it is written. Now let's go to Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. All right, just to coincide with Revelation 12:7 through 11, which we're gonna go back to read. All right, Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. Salakia for that noise. But this is Second Ezra chapter 13, and I'm gonna go straight to the point. You can read this whole chapter if you don't know it already. You know, this is basically for you newer believers too. It says, oh yeah, we'll start here at 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven, all right, meaning all the nations, okay, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, meaning Yahushua. And they're not talking about the sea as in the oceans, it's talking about the elements, all right, because Yahushua is going to come from a whole nother realm, all right, with the thousands of heaven with him. He's going to wax strong when you go back to the top of the chapter. All right. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, which is going to be a huge so-called UFO. All right. The fathership. And the best depiction is to watch the movie Independence Day, the original one. All right. The scene with the fighter jets and the so-called UFOs invading and shooting down the fighter jets, and you know the war that they were having. That's the best, you know, movie scene, but it's false because ain't not one chariot gonna get hit by Esau's weak ass technology compared to the chariot's majesty and power. All right, it's not gonna happen that way, but that's a depiction. Okay, that's exactly where they get Where they got that scene, they got it out of the scriptures. Okay? It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not, because it wasn't an actual hill. It's the fathership. All right, it's gonna be the chariot is gonna block out the whole heavens. All right, and it makes sense that you're gonna have smaller chariots coming out of that huge chariot. All right, you're gonna have chariots, flying with that chariot. Okay, Michael in his chariot. All right, the power that Esau Edom is gonna be met with is gonna be unmatched. Yahweh Shai said, I will not meet thee as a man. He's coming with majestic, angelic, spiritual power, man. The ruler of the universe, only under his father Yahweh. All right. That's the power Yahweh Shai is coming with, man. With the angels, it's gonna be unmatched. But the Lord is gonna make you fight them. Okay. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Yep. He gonna make you fight him. Okay. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, all the fighter jets, all the nations scrambling their jets, we're being attacked, we're being invaded, this is it. Just like in the movie Independence Day. Okay? They gonna try to come and subdue Yahweh Shai, and it's gonna be the end of them. Okay? He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, meaning the mouth of the chariot, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, laser beams that Esau Edom can't create. The lasers Esau got is weak as shit compared to what Yahweh Shai is going to be zapping. Yahweh Shai and the angels going to be zapping these goddamn fighter jets and all these other type of vehicles Esau going to bring out to fight against the Lord. Okay? And they were all mixed together, the blast, the fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. All right, Ezra saw it already in the vision happen, so it already happened. All right, we just waiting for it to manifest. All right, in this time. Okay, now let's go back to Revelation, the 12th chapter, beginning at the 7th verse again. It says, and there was a war in heaven, Michael and his angels, all right, because Michael's going to be with Yahweh Shai when he returns, all right, fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, all right. We got the understanding of the dragon and his angels. It's talking about the nations, beginning with Esau, Edom, and their ability in their military aircraft. All right. Not only the fighter jets, but they have all different types of aircraft that they're going to be bringing out. Okay. It says, and prevailed not, just like we just read in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. It's not going to be a match. Neither was there found any more. No, I'm sorry. Neither was there a place found any more in heaven, meaning they're going to be zapped to dust. Just like we read in 2nd Ezra 13. And the dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. And this is where that cunningly devised fable comes from. Okay? Meaning he's going to be cast out by, literally, he's going to be cast out of the power seat, literally, when Yahweh Shai returns. Talking about the so-called white man. He's the devil and Satan. Okay? Which deceiveth the whole world, He was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, meaning the nations that gathered with him to fight against Yahushua, which is all the nations, okay? And they all gonna lose their power seat. This is why Yahushua is gonna have many crowns on his head when he returns, signifying he gonna take down everybody from the power seat, and he's gonna be King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. He's going to be out of the power seat no longer. All right. And this is going to be our rejoicing. All right. We're going to love his appearing when this takes place. All right. Verse 11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. All right. We overcame this devil by Yahushua's sacrifice. Okay. Because he already got the victory. Okay. And by us keeping the testimony, all right, of Yahushua, we're going to get that victory as well. Okay. And by the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto the death. All right. So that's what the war in heaven is talking about. It's talking about Esau, Edom, getting his ass blasted from here to kingdom come. All right. All his great, so-called great technology being turned back to the elements. Okay. That's the war in heaven. So with that, Lord will, this was edifying to the hopeful elect, giving all praise unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And we on to the next one. Shalom.